we'll get things going. So yeah, make sure you get your hair fixed and all that stuff. And we're recording. Hi everybody. Welcome to MVP Office Hours. Let's say June 21st, 2024 episode number. I'm not even sure, but really big number these days. Super excited to see everyone today. Whew. We've got all sorts of fun today, right? Before we get started, we'll do some housekeeping. Generally speaking, MVP Office Hours is the first and third Friday of every month. This will be the last meeting of June, and then we are going to skip July, and then our next meeting is in August. If you need to reach us, you can find Dale, Squire, and I on LinkedIn. Oh, you know what? I'm Joy Shutters-Helbing, and this is my friend Squire. Squire, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
We're your hosts, but you all have been here so often that I feel like, well, we're all just MVPs in our own right. But you can find us on LinkedIn. You can also find us on X, the social media channel called X, a little bit, and then mvpofficehours.info, and then mvpofficehoursus@gmail.com. And you know what? We should really put up in the chat the MVP Office Hours community link. I should bit.ly that. Squire, I need to come back to that, and we'll put a QR code up for that.
Yep.
And so that's where you can reach us. I think you all know that. Moving on to the next. If you have questions, post in the chat, raise your hand. Does anyone have questions today? Because if you do, get in the chat now so you can get in line. But our next call is August 2nd. So we're skipping all of July, August 2nd, because we've got vacation, we've got travel, we've got conferences. It's a heavy conference month. And I know that y'all have been like, where's Joy? Where's Joy next? But I have 3 conferences in July. And then the first week of July in the US is a holiday of sorts, right? Registration is bit.ly/MVPOH. Recordings are on community and Twitter and YouTube. If you post about all of our shenanigans today, problem solved together, community learner, or MVPOH. You all know the rules. Keep it professional, keep it casual, keep it friendly. We all want you to keep your jobs even after the recording comes out. And just as a reminder, we are recording the session. And so if you need to share your screen, be thoughtful about it. We don't want to see any of your company's proprietary information, any of your company's personal information, any of your personal information. I don't want to know about your doctor's appointments. You can talk to me about that in a private setting, not in the recording. All right, I think we covered all that. And if you have any links or resources, put them in the chat. Next up. All right, so I think Dreaming in Color is wrapping up right now, or yesterday, or I don't know what the timing was. I didn't get to go. Southeast Dreamin' is that next week? That's next week. And then July, we've got Forcelandia, Midwest Dreamin', Buckeye Dreamin'. I'll be at all 3 of those. Tahoe Dreamin', I'm not going to be there. Witness Success is up for grabs right now. SoCal Dreamin', their call for speakers just opened up. So if you submit something to Dreamforce, you should throw it at SoCal Dreamin'. Also, if you can go. And then Mile High Dreamin', I've got coworkers going to Dreamforce and then Florida Dreamin'. So your calendars are booked, I know, but how many of you am I going to see at Dreamforce? 1, 2. Man, all right, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. All right. Well, I will see you all when I see you next, but I think I'm going to see some of you in the next couple of weeks anyway. All right. And then the community groups, in person and virtual, obviously. Engage with your local community groups. I know that there's been a lot of changes going on in the community group land. So go see your friends in person if you are able, and definitely go check on them virtually as much as you can.
Barb, your hands up. Did you want to add something, or is it still up from Dreamforce? Dreamforce? Okay, cool.
Barb's like, I'm going to Dreamforce. I wanted to put up a cloud, but I didn't know how to.
I picked up my wave of my hand. I wasn't even realizing that it stuck it on my.
Don't you love that? Don't you love that? I love it. On the Mac, it picks up all sorts of things, and I had to turn them off because they were. Oh, geez,
see, there you go.
I turned it off. I did. I thought I turned it off, but apparently, I did. and it's gonna go all crazy. So Andrew's got him going on too, but it's just like a fun little feature that the integrated camera picks up on. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't have that happening like for work calls. Because I'll like have my hand like this and it gives like a thumbs up. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm like, sorry. Anyway, Squire says that Todd's on deck. So we're gonna get started. We need to go through the Resource Hall of Fame, but if we have anything else, we'll get back to that. Is Mary Lynn, Mary Lynn's not on the call, so I think it's,
Nope. I think
Why don't
she
we
got her question answered, but there was a couple posts and a pretty well written item. So if she joined, I just wanted to make sure we got a chance to talk to it. So
all right. It looks like she said she's gonna give it a try. So we will circle back, but let's go with Todd for now. And then we will, and Mary Lynn joins us, we'll circle back and read through what she's got going on.
All right. A few weeks ago, I brought up that we had a use case. We needed to be able to ingest an email and get a PDF file off of it and attach it to records in Salesforce and all that good stuff. It might have been Andrew that recommended email to flow. And that's the solution we are going to go with. So it was either that or custom Apex coding, which I am not up to speed on that. So, and actually, the vendor of that has been very responsive, had a couple functions added to the email to flow that he rolled out and released for us. So I've got my proof of concept done. We're just going through the budget process right now. So I'm stuck between budgets before we can license that and move forward. But that looks like it's going to be a good solution. And I've got users that have come up with 2 more use cases already. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. The vendor told me that's usually what happens. Most of his customers start with 1 and he'll contact them 6 months later and they've got 12 to 15 pieces up and running with it. So I'm excited to get it out to the users and let them take a look. And thanks to this group for the suggestion.
I love a win. I love a win.
Yes. We need those at times, don't we?
High five, Andrew. Great job. Way to go, Todd. I love it. I love it. Love to hear success stories. That's my favorite. All right. Well, then if you're all set for now, then I want to hear how it progresses. So make sure you circle back and let us know, because I know Andrew wants to stick that feather in his cap real quick. Be like, that was my idea. I don't remember whose idea it was. Andrew, was it yours? Excellent. Because, Todd did say he wasn't absolutely certain, but okay. So Mike, we got account team.
Yeah. So, we have ATM triggers, which I'm starting to think is probably a bad idea to ever have. But if you change the default account teams, when you make those changes, it doesn't fire the triggers on purpose. And I need those triggers to run because we do visibility stuff relating to, like, when someone's added ATM, we do visibility rules on unrelated objects. So, has anyone already done this sort of thing where you detect ATM entries that were not part of it, did not invoke triggers to basically refire your trigger logic on them?
So just to clarify, so the idea being that it's not the team membership, or it's not the account team that is the change, it's changes to the default account team, and you want that to rerun membership of all the account teams?
Not all of them. What happens when you change, like, let's say you add a person to your default account team and you say, apply this to all my accounts.
Right.
Salesforce goes in and adds that person to all your accounts.
Right.
But that addition does not fire off your account team member insert trigger. And it's that insert trigger code is what I need to have execute, because that controls visibility to other things. So, like, it needs to run, basically it needs to run that logic. And I've been thinking of weird hack around things of, like, well, maybe I could put a date stamp, that says trigger fired, and then, like, periodically query against that to say, okay, what doesn't have this checkbox checked or something, and reinsert those records. It seems very hacky of a way to do it, but maybe it might be the only option.
My assumption would be that Salesforce has got some sort of governor in place so that when you do make that change, if you've got, millions of accounts, you can't bring your org down trying to recalculate all that stuff. So it's possible, I don't know this for sure, that there's like, it's already working around that. That said, there's a voice in my head that suggests that what you could do then is on that account team change, like create a custom event or something that you've got your flow waiting to do the account team updates. You're still going to struggle with capacity though. Like it's not going to scale well if it's flow. Is it Apex for the most part on the account team?
Apex is fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
Apex is
okay.
fine. Yeah, you can't create triggers on default team member changes. You can query for it.
Mhm.
You can query, but you can't trigger off of it.
But
And
if you can query off of it, can't you run that then in like a scheduled batch?
I'd have to save a copy of it every time to know who was removed. Because this is the other part that sucks too, is remove. It'd be nice to cover removals as well. I could see who was added, but I'd also have to know that like those additions, because when you add someone to the default team, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to add them to all existing. So like you add someone, you could say, add this person, but this is an going forward basis, not a retroactive basis.
and I'm digging right now. There's no like membership record you can trigger off of that says this contact or this person is part of this team, and when they're added or removed, you can trigger off that.
That's the closest you could do, but you could also add someone that's on your team manually anyways.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking specifically at the default team, right? That like to get this thing to trigger from the ground up.
Which
There's like-
maybe
there's-
that could work. Maybe that could work, although then you still have to reevaluate all your ATM entries to see which ones are part of a team.
Yeah, I mean you're definitely gonna have to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're likely, because it also runs sharing, you're probably gonna have to do some sort of bulk or off hour calculation, depending on your scale, but so what have you tried so far, you said?
The closest I figured was in a before trigger to have either a checkbox field or maybe a date stamp for insert. Well, especially for inserts, it'd be easier. Like let's say on an insert, in a before trigger, you check a checkbox that just says trigger fired, and then periodically we say, okay, all the ATMs created today that don't have that checked, those are created without triggers firing off. So do something with that. Either just call logic or delete that record and insert it again. Or try to abstract out that code and be like, all right, rerun this stuff. Something like that could maybe work and scale down the amount of potential records.
For
So it's just
inserts,
querying
right?
against today's. Yeah, for inserts. I think for updates.
What about deletes?
Deletes are the biggest headache. I could get this to work for inserts and I could get it to work for updates. I can't get it to work for deletes using this, but that might be better. It might be better to not handle that than our current model of not handling any of this at all. I do wish deletes was somehow part of it as well. That's why I was hoping for, like being able to figure out something on that. I can't go through every, we can't true up every ATM entry. Compared against like this, there'd be way too much stuff to try to go between like this and compare everything on that. The way we're really doing is our ATM entries drive access to our contracts object. So that has its own sharing table, and trying to compare like every ATM entry against the sharing table and this other one would be so much data. We're talking millions of records. I got like 7 million account records and a bunch more, ATM entries than that.
I think you're just gonna have to share your explanation out to the world.
Yeah, I can't think of a good solid way of doing this really, or at least not a permanent way.
Well, it's such a weird like kind of juggle because while you have the ability to do the yes add or don't add trigger,
Yeah.
even after the fact, you don't really know if that was intended to be there or not. So then you have to assume the data in its current state is accurate, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, and it's only when you change the default account teams that this causes a headache. Every other scenario in this entire system, it's not a problem. It's only when you change your default team.
Does the I'm still digging. Does the default account team like object, not the membership, but the object have a change date? Because if
You know, I
adding
think it-
members or removing members
I
modifies that
think it
parent.
has a change date, but I don't think you can query deleted records.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking like if it shows a change, you know
Mhm.
which teams to evaluate on. And then from there you can, because the members should have already been removed by the default team checkbox. And now you're just recalculating this account team trigger based on, you just need to know which default account teams are applicable. No, that's not right. Because you're actually trickling down to the assigned user. You know who's probably fixed this? Mike has probably already solved this problem.
Stuart, do you have your hand up for a reason, or you, or do you have something to throw in here? Mike, you too. Like, Stuart, you're muted.
You know who might have an answer on this? Mike Reynolds. I wish he was on the call. No, I just had a question. So you said that default account teams don't allow you to do triggers. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, if you change default account team, yeah.
Yeah,
If you change your default account team, it doesn't fire triggers, and you can't create triggers on the default team member change.
Okay, and then Squire already asked my question. I put my hand up thinking I could ask a question, but then Squire asked that because I was going to ask, does it have a modified date, and does the modified date change when you
It does have a last modified date.
Yep. And then the other question that I have, I'm not going anywhere with that other than I know that some people use last modified date to set off triggers. But if you can't do a trigger on that object, then it doesn't really matter. But then the other question is, does account team, default account team allow you to do platform events? Could you set off a platform event upon a default account team change? Which is something that people do often. They create triggers based on platform events.
It's a good idea, but I'm not seeing I'm not seeing it capable on a change event. It's not possible on the object either. And I don't think it's in change data capture. Let's see if it's in there.
Because and change data capture is probably not going to give you the help you need, because you probably need to build a custom event so you know exactly what to do with that event.
Yeah, you have to.
It's not in there anyways. Yeah, so like if you change the default team, it doesn't look like it's user accessible or developer accessible.
Okay, and then my final question is: I saw Joy wave, and I didn't know if she was waving at me. Hi there, Joy.
Of course, I was waving at you because you put your hand up. It's like,
all right,
you were.
Thank you for waving at me. I think Mike usually has some sort of an idea, and when Mike doesn't have an idea, then Andrew poses a really good question.
So sorry I'm late to the party. Well, can this be done asynchronously, or does it need to happen synchronously?
I can deal with it asynchronous to a certain extent. And that's probably the only way that we can actually deal with it is asynchronously anyway. So I was planning whatever the solution is to be asynchronous, but I don't think I can make a perfect solution asynchronously anyways.
Yeah, so I've never tried to do this, but I'm wondering if there's maybe it's on some type of schedule. We go and check what needs to be updated and what doesn't because the default changed. Or because there were changes, right? Because you're basically saying there are some records that didn't trigger my triggers, so I need to trigger my triggers, right? And I get
Yeah.
that. But can I note on the records that did trigger triggers that they were triggered so that I can then go
That's-
back?
Yeah, that's the idea I had, and I like that idea in general. The only part that it gets a little funky on is handling deletes, because you won't have any record to check for a delete. Which I'm willing to accept that as this is better. Internet, it's better than what we currently have, which
Yeah.
is still the same problem,
Um,
but at least we're making it easier on the insert side. Yeah, yeah, that's where I got into the whole, like, I can't think of a perfect solution, but maybe we can at least get close enough.
Because so if the default account team change results in an account team deletion, like the previous account team had 5 roles, the new default account team has 3.
Yeah.
That would
It
be the
blows off
scenario.
Yeah, and it deletes those 2 ATM entries, and it hard deletes them. So you
Right,
can't even query for them. Yeah.
right. And,
So they're
and if
just
you
gone.
had but if you had a before delete on account team member, it's not gonna fire.
Right.
But
I
you're
mean-
also talking sharing though, right? Like your end result is that you're sharing additional records, right?
The sharing
That's-
is for,
That's
it's
why
for,
we're doing
like,
this, right?
Yeah, the sharing's for like an unrelated, I want
Right,
to say
but-
unrelated,
but-
but yeah.
But you've got your default team, your default team changed. You can say, hey, who's not on the default team anymore? Unless there's also other sharing going on.
Well, why do we
Oh,
need
there's
to
a
lot
check?
of-
Why can't we just recalculate sharing?
Right, yeah, why can't you just recalculate sharing for that object then? Say this one changed, so I need to recalculate sharing for this object.
Like, do we
I
have
think
customer
I
my
can't
concern
change
processes
about
that we just need to
recalculating
reevaluate?
sharing was only that it didn't scale well because you were recalculating sharing on an unknown quantity, but not that you
Yeah,
can't.
But it's not-
it could get huge. I mean, keep in
Yeah.
mind, like,
We
we're
can
talking
queue it.
about we're talking an unrelated, like a third object over here that has its own separate sharing, set of sharing rules and stuff going
doesn't-
on.
But primarily, is it shared with the same people who the default?
It's supposed to be
team is-
shared. It's supposed to be shared with everyone on the ATM. Some people can be removed from the ATM. Some people are not permitted to be removed. It gets into weird visibility rules, and this was kind of actually a fallover from we used to control visibility by Visual Force, and then we moved over to Dynamic Forms. And then that whole Visual Force visibility thing was, it's like, oh, people are able to see stuff they can't see, and people are not able to see things that they should be able to see because the Visual Force page calculated the sharing on the fly as opposed to looking at the sharing table, which is a different issue.
But even more of a reason to not do it in
Yeah.
a real time mode, because if
Yeah.
you've got thousands of accounts and those have thousands of opportunities and those have thousands of tasks, now you're talking in a real time mode, a trigger goes off. I've added Squire to my account team, and now I've got to recalculate all of those
Yeah.
sharing rules. That's a
Yeah.
nightmare. That's chaos.
Yeah.
I don't
It's a
want
lot of
that. I
It's a
wanna
lot.
I
Yeah.
wanna do that at like 2 a.m. in the morning when nobody's trying to mess up my system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but
Choke it
doesn't
up
the
real
account
good so it
team,
doesn't break.
the account team member change is going to recalculate the relative sharing anyway?
It's for Apex. I mean, this is all custom Apex code. We're purposely manipulating the sharing table.
So you ruined it, and now that you've ruined it, it's hard to keep it not as ruined.
Oh, don't blame me. Blame the jackasses who invented this 10 years ago.
Okay,
easy,
okay,
let's
okay.
keep it professional.
So, um,
This
I-
wasn't this wasn't my
I-
design.
and I walked into it going, Apex sharing. That's how we're going to start.
Boy, that
So
would be
I-
convenient, wouldn't it?
I feel
Sorry,
like
sorry, Taco. Disturbed his slumber.
I feel like we can deal with everything asynchronously with the exception of the deletes. And if we want to catch the deletes, Stu's got a good idea. Just why isn't it that every night at, a reasonable hour of your choosing, we just run something on a schedule that says, hey, let's go and do some reconciliation. What I think is going to be spicy.
Yeah.
How do you do that efficiently? Like, how do I know? Because this is an interesting way where Salesforce is going to delete a record without firing a trigger first.
Yeah.
And so the only way I think, I could be wrong, but the only way I think for you to guarantee that you know exactly what needs to happen is for you to actually duplicate, I am so sorry, the entire ATM table.
That's what I thought.
Persist it
Yeah.
elsewhere, right? Like if you have it elsewhere, if I have an external object, for example, that listed all of the records and the IDs, and then you were able to reconcile, you could then build something that says, okay, here's what I need to then go and delete, or here's the necessary changes I need to make because I have a table to reconcile against. Because Salesforce has given you a feature that looks a lot like a bug.
Yeah, and I was thinking of going that route, and it wouldn't catch things that happen the same day or in between, but that's still closing gaps. Like if someone adds someone and then says, "Oh, I made a mistake," and it instantly deletes them, well, I would never see that.
No mistakes allowed.
Yeah.
No mistakes allowed. Ooh.
I thought this would be a pain, but no good answer. I'm just surprised that it hasn't come up more often. More people get caught up with this stuff.
Well, I think less people have started with the opportunity to improve that you have.
Mm.
One last question, really quick. Brain, lots of Dayquil today. The work that you're doing on the account when someone's added after the account team after the default account team does the work.
Mhm.
What is that work? Like in summary? Like why do you need a trigger, I guess is what I'm asking.
When someone gets added to the ATM, they should have access to all the records associated with that client in a custom object.
Okay.
And so we're sharing those. We have to share those records because they are not under lookup or master detail relationships.
Got it. Okay.
They actually go through a separate junction object to try to find it. It's a giant mess.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Trying to get to it.
I was just trying to equate in my head whether deletion actually mattered. So
it does. And it's
yeah,
a visibility thing, and it's actually kind of a security thing. Which makes it all the more worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Don't put triggers
the
on
reason I was
ATMs.
asking is because if the deletion, like if it wasn't sharing and the deletion automatically recalculates sharing for the account team, but you've got manual account sharing on the lower levels,
Mhm.
then you do have to pull them back up. Yeah. Okay. How and just scale wise, how many of these like child custom records are we talking about that might have to be evaluated?
Millions.
Okay.
Millions, yeah.
I mean,
well, potentially, well, it depends because an individual advisor's book of business, even the biggest advisor is going to have, I don't know, a couple of 100,000.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
so
right.
So having said that, I'm going to pile on Mike's recommendation. So talking about 100,000, maybe more custom objects for manual sharing. So running that by a trigger, I think, is just not a good design.
Yeah.
And I would say it's time to refactor and do all of your recalculations, even if it's hourly, but like you have to handle, all the locking possibilities, all the recalculations. You have to make sure you're not bringing the system down. And if you do hit that, tens of thousands up to millions, that trigger is pretty fragile point and a very important part
Yeah.
of your process. I'm gonna
Yeah.
support the refactor, batch recalculation, do all your chunking, do all of your stuff.
Yeah, we might have to do that. That's gonna be another major project in itself.
Yeah, I mean,
I had a
and
feeling no, this would be, yeah.
it probably should be, and I think if you, barring the issue at hand with, like how this started, if you were to just say, hey, you know what, we are manually sharing millions of records every time a team is created or modified, that should put you on your heels to begin with, regardless of the problem. And it should be a priority to say, you know what, these things could cause record locks, they could cause failures. We can't be certain that calculation is done because we're not monitoring it.
Yeah,
We should refactor this to ensure that if this sharing is so critical to your business, that it's done right.
yeah.
No mistakes.
Do that or make them all
Not
master
allowed.
detail, parent inherent sharing. There you go.
They used to be, but then we converted to lookup because we had problems doing them as master detail for other reasons.
Yeah.
Because we needed to give access to the contract records, but not necessarily give access to the client records. I have no idea why. That was like
Yeah.
5 years ago.
All right.
Yeah,
All
I got a
right,
messy
well.
org. Thank you though. Thank you for
Good luck.
thank
All
you
right.
for confirming I didn't overlook something silly.
Well, that's all good. So, I mean, if no one else has any questions, like we're done for today. We want to go back to Marilyn's question because she's not here. You guys want to see it? See Marilyn's question. Oh, I had it open. Look at that. And Squire, did you read through this?
I did. I like to hear it from the person's mouth
Yeah.
if possible.
Yeah,
Uh,
Marilyn's not here though, so
No.
I'll read it and maybe you can interpret it. How's that? Right?
Oh, yeah. Sure, sounds good.
They have set up where a parent opportunity can be linked to a child opportunity. And on the child opportunity, we have another related list that holds the various sales order numbers that are related to that child opportunity. What I need to do is display the sales order numbers that are linked to the child opportunity on the parent opportunity page layout. Is this possible? I've gone round and round and can't get it to work. I'm able to create a report to display the required information, but not able to get the related list of the related list on the page layout. So what I'm hearing is she wants child opportunity sales order numbers. Like,
Yeah. Basically two children down, right?
mm-hmm.
Opportunity to sales.
Grandchildren.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And the comment from Robin was to use a ScreenFlow on a data table, which was the first thing I thought about. Anybody else have any thoughts?
That's what I figured.
I mean, it seems like it's the easiest way to bubble that up and have some controls about what's going to be there and potentially even interact with it. I suppose you could do something really wonky with a list view, but why bother? Mike, we
Mike,
can't hear you.
your audio skipped us.
Well, I like being on mute. It's better for everyone else. I'm wondering if there aren't business requirements we don't know about. Like do they want to be able to choose one child and then see the grandchildren and be able to change the child and change the grandchildren ultimately displayed? Or are they trying to say, I want to see actually a big hot mess of records, like in some tree structure where it's, here's my child, there's my grandkids, there's another kid, there's some grandkids. Like, I want to understand more about the display, but from how do I get something like this done? Why not use a ScreenFlow in a data table?
Yeah. Another
interactive, it's
scalability
simple.
question, right? Like if you're bringing back 500 records, the first question is, what are you doing with 500 records? If you're bringing back
Right.
3, it's a different question, right?
Right.
I'm also kind of wondering like if a console would solve a lot of the issues, but that's all right.
Smart.
Depends on the why. I know.
Everyone
so
chooses
that's
a console all the time. Everyone.
Here we are. No one has any other challenges. It's a slow month. for our Salesforcing people. Stuart, do you have an actual question, or are you just asking like what
No,
my favorite
you-
flavor is
you-
this week?
you-
Because it might
you-
be pineapple, it might be strawberry. I don't know.
You move too
Chocolate?
fast. You move too fast. Can I have a question?
Of course.
You move too fast.
What?
So I put a link. Speaking of the thing you were just talking about, there is such a thing as a cross-object formula.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the description of that cross-object formula, it says that it can reference fields from objects that are up to 10 relationships away. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's grandchildren. Or is it not?
It
It go-
is, but I
it
think
goes
that's
up.
just a field though.
Yeah, but it
What-
goes
Yeah.
up, not down.
Yeah.
So you could reference the parent and the grandparent, but you can't reference the child or the grandchild.
Because you don't
Really?
know if it's child A, child B, child C.
Because it may be
You just-
multiple.
I love
it
all
may
my
be multiple.
Ancestry.
What was
Lookup
that?
relationships. Now, if you have like a lookup field, that's a different story because you could look through the lookup, but yeah.
I mean, what I'm hearing is that they want the grandparent to be able to see a picture of all their grandchildren at the same time. And they can't. Sorry, they're not all in the same house at the same time.
Yeah.
No, I get this as a requirement. Like I have this similar where like all like like notes and file attachments, they want to see on like the account page everything from all the opportunities brought forward. If there's 2 opportunities, they want to see all that in one spot so they can see the entire picture of who's talking to who, you know. So like it makes sense to a certain extent as a business requirement.
Could
I wanted to get the full, just didn't want you to move too fast off this one. Thank you.
I mean, so would it be possible on like the parent account to like embed like a chart? And then just
Sure,
like have the users
absolutely.
click on the chart so they can see all the grandchildren?
I think we've all had that conversation of, well, if you just click this once, you get it all. I don't want to click once, right?
I know,
So-
I know, they want to see it, but just give them a little pie chart with all the, I don't know, all the crap. I want to know how that goes out. Marilyn, come back, tell us how this goes. We want to know. We want to know more. Marilyn, someone email Marilyn. All right, so now to the big question, Stuart. The fruit of the week is what? Like we're gonna decide. Like it's been an apple. This has been the fruit of the week. It's been apples. It's really sad because I kind of wanted something else, but
I had, what is the thing that's not a peach, but smaller than a peach, but still. it's not-
nectarine.
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 Apricot?
I had a-
Well,
oh,
or
it could
an
be an
apricot.
I had one of those.
Blueberries.
Blueberries are
Yeah,
much smaller.
They're smaller
not
than a
quite-
peach.
I
They're not quite
know.
a peach.
I know.
had-
I just want blueberries.
I had one of those. So
Very
if that
good.
helps.
My neighbors keep telling me that my caprese salad is trash and you should replace tomatoes with peaches, and I'm like, I haven't tried that, so I can't really vote on that. But I got fresh basil in the yard. I gotta decide what to do with it.
Strawberries,
No.
strawberry. So instead of tomatoes, strawberries. It works surprise. Like I did strawberry
Ah.
basil mozzarella with a little bit of balsamic glaze on like a skewer as an
Skewer?
appetizer. Highly enjoyable.
I
Ooh.
can see how
I-
that would work.
I think my big question for the group is what sort of Salesforce things are you studying this summer? Do you have any like badges or super badges or certifications or credentials that you're working on right now? I'm curious.
Is that folks are working on what super badges? I mean, I'm working on the case super badges, but that's because, it's been a minute. So I'm gonna go back to them. I had to get a new playground. It was terrible. Allison, it was terrible.
Are you guys attending Southeast Streaming? Will you guys be in Atlanta next week?
I will
Okay.
not. Is anyone else attending Southeast Run?
Pat's got her hand up.
Excellent. Excellent.
I was supposed to be, but I'll be in a car taking a 14-year-old to summer camp.
Oh,
So
Well-
Southeast streaming, 14-year-old.
You only get a couple more summers of that,
Southeast Run.
Allison.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. That's why I'm not going to Southeast streaming, because I have to be a responsible parent and take the child to camp.
I mean, like I said, you only get to do that a couple more summers. And so embrace it, enjoy it. It's one of those things.
I
'Cause
do have
mine
a
are done
question.
with me. Mine are done with me. They drive themselves places.
Oh, I can't wait. Mine's currently sitting upstairs on a chair in his loft playing his Xbox.
Mhm. Yep.
My question I had for all of you MVPs is I just recently got laid off from my nonprofit. So, and I'm a data geek. I love like cleaning up data and, making it presentable and usable. So I wanted to pick everybody's brain to see what they suggested for things I should study, take super badges on, just so I can increase my skills and, figure out my next step.
Build your own org. I'm building
100 plus.
I'm working on mine and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I do this. And I had this screen flow. And so I had to use a couple new things like the repeater, so build your own org and then make an experience cloud page, because that seems to be one of the big things now.
There's that there's a whole trailhead badge around that, Allison, about your personal branding. Square, I do remember what the name of that is, if you can throw that in the chat. But it kind of walks you through like how to highlight your skills and how to highlight what you've done. But the really great thing about what Pat has suggested is that you can like take all those cool things that you've done and build them out like in your own situation. And you can be like, hey, this is something I've done in the past. I'd like to show it to you in an interview, instead of being like, oh yeah, I've done something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing that you can do is you can actually keep track of your interviews and your applications, like build out an app to do that in your org. I've also recently built out a whole like conference attendance thing. And in that trailhead badge, they talk about resources. Is it resources?
Ooh.
And like places that you go to find out more about, different things, or like, and it might be a community group, it might be, event like Dreamforce or whatever, or any of the Dreaming events. And you can kind of track where you've been, and you could also build out an app to track your learning. You don't have to rebuild trailhead badges, but you could like build out like a learning diary of sorts. Like today, this is what I worked on, not, badge, right? You just kind of do a different thing. So that's a way to start. Jody Herbeck hosts a demo jam where she invites folks to build out a solution to a problem that they have in their personal life, so that they can like apply it to Salesforce. I know that you all have heard the story about like people who plan their weddings on a Salesforce demo org, or they do things like track their dating, which really is disturbing to me. But it's something I've heard happen in the past. And I don't want to know any more about it. It's terrifying. But there's also the folks that have tracked diaper changing. There's the folks who have create an app to, track their dog's habits. And there's a lot of things that you can build out to like highlight and showcase what you know how to do in Salesforce. And I would encourage you to kind of just go all out with it and like go down the rabbit hole and do the thing. Square, did you find that badge?
Andrea did. So
Andrea did.
Oh, thank you, Andrea. Fantastic.
Thank you, Andrea.
But I'm gonna just make a little shout out. No one should be afraid of the architect certifications. They are the normal progression of a Salesforce career, and they represent your growing knowledge and experience. And so if you really do love data and you really understand the data modeling in Salesforce, the content in the data architect, even if you don't take that cert, is super valuable and will you'll be able to use that forever, even if you don't have the cert. I highly recommend anyone who feels like they're like, I'm a power sharing user, I'm a power data user, like jump to the architect certs and really push yourself. You'll get a lot out of it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Allison, what do you want to do?
What do I want to do? The question is, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
I don't quite know. I mean, I'm kind of going into my next chapters. Like, what do I want to do? I
Yeah.
love cleaning up data. That's just like, I call myself the vacuum cleaner of data.
Do you know how important you are coming up on this
Mhm.
AI stuff? Like
Mhm.
Are you
you
more of
are
like an individual contributor, or are you more of like you want to be in a manage a team? Like, what do you really want to do?
I'm open right now. I spent the last 3.5 years on a team of development operations for a nonprofit. And I was the data integrity manager, as they called me. So yeah, something like that is what I really want to do. And I'm okay team, no team, as long as I'm remote. That's my only request, because I've kind of gotten spoiled.
yeah.
So here in Boston at the World Tour, they had a Boston user group meetup, and I met a few folks that they're looking for a job, and they said it's really hard. Like they've been looking for 9 months.
Mhm.
So I would actually spend less time trying to study, because it looks like you're pretty smart already, and I would
Thank
just
you.
focus more on networking.
Mhm.
I think that right there, because it's very easy to just be insular with yourself, but like where we are in this economy, it's just
Mhm.
kind of like who you know.
Yeah. And that's why I'm attending Florida Dreaming and Witness Success. And I want to attend Eric Dreshfield's Dreaming in Data.
There you go. There you
Because
go.
also these user groups, like the Vancouver one, that's remote.
Mhm.
Like a lot of these different, you could just go in that community group and they tell you like what's happening now, and a lot of them are online, and there's some strong like regional like areas like the Boston, like it's like a little family here. The Vancouver one, it seems like everybody knows each other. So these little pockets, and you could just join them their meetings and try to.
And I
build-
know a bunch of people from the Boston nonprofit group, the
Yeah.
BNO group.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean,
Look at
was
the
it Pat?
San Ramon.
Pat,
San
you're
Ramon.
really,
Thank you,
you're
everybody. I
really.
gotta go.
Thanks, Khalid. Pat, you're really
Bye.
into the indie space. Barb's up in Texas. Andrea and I are in Chicago. Squire's in Wisconsin. We got you.
Yay. Thank you.
We
I
got
appreciate
you,
it. Oh,
Allison.
yay.
Like, we got you. So, I agree with Kuldeep's networking. We
Mhm.
are at time, but
Yes.
the networking piece, go for it, because
Yeah.
the jobs that I've gotten in the last 10 years have all been attributed to knowing somebody.
And that's how I got my job
Okay.
I was at currently, because I met Melissa Hildees and I joined her group, and I met Daniel Gorton, and Daniel Gorton worked for the organization I'm working for, that I'm getting laid off from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it all, ties together, and everyone wants everyone to succeed. So,
yes.
happy Friday, friends. We'll talk to you soon.
Yay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Happy
Bye.
Friday.
Happy
See
Friday.
you later.
Well.